Alrighty, it's 6 o'clock, Monday, September 25th, 2023. This is the Franklin Public Library Board of Trustees meeting. This is Maria Imp, Judy Williams-Kalaki.
Here.
Doris Weber.
Here.
Terry Barris.
Here.
Anne Marie Oklubgia.
Here.
Alan Alexandrovich.
Here.
Mike Karlovitz.
Here.
Michelle Eichmann.
Here.
Annalie Bennin.
Here.
I know, sorry, I was on a roll. Okay, Jennifer Loeffel is here, and this evening we have a visitor, Andy Scott, one of our reference librarians. Take it away.
Okay. As Maria said, I'm Andy Scott, one of the reference librarians. I've been here since 2004, so I've been here quite a while. Yeah.
That is hard to
Maybe
believe.
19 years next month, so
Wow.
enjoyed my time here and everything like that, and love working here. I guess probably one of the main duties that I do is the reference desk. So just like all the other reference librarians, I spend a couple 3 hours out there each day answering questions about all sorts of stuff, the services here at the library, and helping find materials and all sorts of stuff, and really almost anything you can imagine. And that's always fun because of the contact with the public and everything, and they always have interesting questions, and most of them are pretty enthusiastic about being here and
Good.
reading or whatever kind of materials they're interested in. One of the other things I do is I oversee the media collection, so I select and purchase all the adult DVDs, audiobooks, and music CDs, and catalog them as well, and maintain those collections. The meeting rooms is another thing that I do.
Yes.
Scheduling meeting rooms.
We know.
Yes, it is kind of a handful of work, but it's
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah.
it's challenging, but also fulfilling though too, just because it is a challenge to kind of keep it all straight and everything. A lot of times people don't really know what they want or when they want or what our facilities are when they first contact us, so I have to give them some info on all of that, and I'm sure, as Jennifer has mentioned, we're taking a look at some various meeting room reservation software, so that'll hopefully streamline things once we get that going.
Have you started to try any of it?
Yes. Last month we were working on one called LibCal from a company called SpringShare, and that would allow us to do our meeting room scheduling as well as reservations for our programs. So we do have a different program that we're using now, but it would all kind of all be in one. And there are various other functions in that software too.
So
It's
how did that one seem to go? Is that the one that you think you're going to go with?
I'm not sure. It is really very, like I said, very, very comprehensive. And so Sam was also working on it, and Jennifer played around with it a little bit also.
It's robust.
It might be it's very, very nice. It may be a little bit more than we need.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other one that we're working on now is called Local Hop, and a number of the libraries in McFliss do use that
Okay.
software, and I don't know if we've had much of a chance to really look at it quite yet. That trial just kind of started,
Okay.
but it does seem to be a little bit
Simpler.
more, simpler, and probably would fulfill our needs maybe a little bit more. But we'll have to see once we really get to test it out.
Does that one
We'll
have
know
a
for
sign
sure.
up?
It does, but when I went in to do the demo, I couldn't see it, so Andy was going to look into that.
Yeah.
couldn't-
One of the other things that we weren't finding either was the help. So,
Yeah.
That might be difficult.
right before I left for vacation last week, I did find how to get into the help.
Okay.
So I didn't get a chance to look at that yet, but hopefully that'll answer some of our questions,
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
basic ones at least, and
Yeah.
yeah, it does have all the components that the other one did. It's just a little bit more streamlined and probably easier to use.
And the one reason we were looking at this one kind of seriously, because it's quite a bit less.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like, do we need the Cadillac, or can we get by with the Camry?
Sure, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's the ballpark price for them?
It was
Well, the LibCal was around 1,100, and for the first year of Local Hop, it'll probably be about the same. But that includes training as well on that, which I think would probably be good for us.
When if the other libraries within McFliss uses it, that'll probably be helpful. I would
yeah. There's
assume.
actually 2 or 3 that use local hop.
Like
Yeah, a little while back, I went up to Shorewood to
Oh, yeah,
use
I
it,
remember
so
that, yeah.
they did kind of show me around a little bit, and even if you just go onto their website, you can kind of start a reservation yourself
Mm-hmm.
if you want. So, or at least you can kind of see what the interface looks like.
Sure.
So,
Is that our
So-
homework?
what's that?
Yeah.
Is that our homework?
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah,
hop
you can
on, see what you
No,
think.
not necessarily.
Then
But,
you can go to
Sherwood's
was
gonna
it-
have all these cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Actually, I think they do
Not my
require
library.
that you create an account to be able to do that.
Uh-oh.
At Shorewood?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whereas I don't think the other ones do.
Okay.
And that's an
Oh.
option. You can do that if you want, but
Okay.
you don't have to do it that way.
Huh, okay.
But anyway, so even if you just go to their room reservation page, you can kind of get a little bit of a look
Sure.
at kind of what it looks like.
Was it Menominee Falls that uses LibCal?
I think that was the
Yeah.
one that
So
was
if you
looked
want
at
an
too. Yeah.
idea what LibCal
Okay.
looks like.
Mhm,
And then are you able to put like all the rules and regulations that we would
Yeah.
require? Like for example, rooms technically shouldn't be rented for political
Mhm.
campaigning.
Like our
or
policies,
like
right.
Like a come meet the
Right.
mayor,
Yes.
the alderperson
Right.
type
Yeah,
situation
I
because
believe-
it's a federal building too.
Yeah, I believe what Shorewood does is when you first click on going to the meeting rooms, it takes you to a page where they have the room reservation policy for the library. So I would assume we would probably
You would have to
do
maybe
something kinda
agree
like that.
to it
So,
before
right,
you can.
right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Agree.
So
Kind of-
that would give people a
Everybody
breakdown
reads
of
those.
Yeah,
that kind of
make it nice and
stuff, and
simple.
also the fees and that kind of thing. So
Nice, thank
You
you.
said it's
Mhm.
local hop.
right.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm
Mhm.
spelling that right. Okay. Or saying.
One of the other things I do is I am in charge of the Franklin Public Library Traveling Collection. And that's our outreach program to the Clare Meadows Senior Apartments.
Mm.
So once every 8 weeks, I take a big load of books over there for them to check out. And I think they're very appreciative. I know the ones that use it, maybe it's not a real large amount of people who use it, but they're very appreciative of having that stuff accessible to them easily. So
How does that work? Do they request stuff sometimes, or how do you decide?
we don't take any requests other than if someone wants to say, oh, could you bring some James Patterson books or something
Okay.
like that. We can do authors, but not individual
Specific
books.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I try to just gather up a wide variety of fiction, nonfiction. So we take 100 books each time, and we have then volunteers at the facility actually do all the librarian work. They check them out and keep track of who's got what book, and
Thank goodness.
yeah.
So you do look at the patterns of what people are checking out and which books sit there and never get checked out, and maybe try to tailor the next load
Yeah,
to
we-
that,
I
or
think
a
I
little bit
kinda
of
know
that.
in general
yeah,
what they like.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been doing it a few years now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You said how long did you say that you leave them there before you
8
rotate the books? 8 weeks? Okay.
Yep.
And then how many places do you do that with?
Just the one
Just-
right
oh,
now.
just
yeah,
Meadows.
just-
We used to do the woods at Cedar. Was it the woods at Cedar? That place. It's on College.
yeah,
And I'm blanking out on exactly the
I
name
can't
of it.
remember the name of
Just
the
not
place.
enough interest that was
There
worth it.
wasn't that particular facility did not use it enough to justify all that work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We did. I mean, we we did do signage everywhere and pushed it, but it just, not as many readers as Claire Meadows has a lot of readers.
Or if they're more mobile
Or, yeah.
and can go to the
Yeah, or have people
library
that
and
bring
check out
them.
their own stuff or whatever, then maybe.
And some of those places, I think, have their own, like,
Yeah.
little libraries, the
Like,
newer places.
Monastery Lake.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They
Yeah.
probably do. What is
They
about
have a
Brentwood, where we're
library.
doing the children's programs now? Do they,
Brentwood?
or
Yeah,
Brentwood, yeah.
Brentwood.
Not the
I
pet
know.
place, that's Brentwood.
Brentwood comes, they have a book discussion group.
Okay,
And so they come, they have a
They
card and they
come,
come
yeah.
and they gather the books.
okay, so they do that. I was just curious if you were,
Yeah.
if there's more than one place, because then you could just rotate.
Right, right.
That's true, yeah,
Yeah, Lake Elizabeth residents.
yeah.
Oh,
We could
our
con-
Lioness Club, please.
Yeah,
bring
we could
both.
contact them, because we're always open to other facilities.
I think New Perspective, don't quote me on this, but I believe they have their own
They
library.
do,
Yeah.
because we did check with them.
I'm not trying to make more work for you, I'm sorry.
Right,
No,
yeah,
I
he's
think-
like,
Yeah, and you're right too. You know, they do have access to other books as well. I think the people from Claire Meadows tell me that there's different. You know, there just might be a spot in like their hallway or something like that.
Right.
There's where there's a bookshelf, so there's stuff like that. But
Doesn't
they're
get
really glad to
rotated,
have
though.
the right. So they're glad to have this stuff that you know, new stuff coming in
Mm-hmm.
all the time too.
Yeah,
So-
8 weeks is pretty, that's pretty often that they're getting a chance, they gotta be reading.
yeah, it's wonderful.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of readers
And I
over
think
there.
that they're the ones who participate at least are pretty
Yeah, good
voracious readers. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
I also pick out and schedule our Monday movies, and we've had some pretty good success with that. I think months ago when we showed a man called Otto with Tom Hanks, we had like 90 people. It was
Wow.
they were kind of I was having to set up chairs as they were all trying to sit down. It was pretty crazy. Not
Yeah.
every month do we have a big.
Big hit.
Big
Depends on the
turnout like
movie.
that. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
just seemed to be just the right one for this crowd. So, I also do some of the book lists that we have out there.
Yeah.
The adult suggested reading from FPL. So right now we have 12 different ones out there, including graphic novels, true crime, Wisconsin Reads, World War II stories, narrative nonfiction, which is kind of a popular one because the kids in the high school are always assigned to do a narrative nonfiction book. So I think they can use that one. I've also been doing a quarterly movie list. That's out there also. It's called Now Showing. And so it's just kind of a very select list of different titles that I've found on Hoopla and Canopy, the two streaming services
so you're
that we
able
have.
to-
So it kind of serves as a way to market those a little bit.
Yeah.
But it also has DVDs that we have here too. But,
That's a good idea.
just kind of for fun. I also participate in the podcast that we do.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if we have any listeners here.
We have a
but,
podcast?
Yeah, long overdue. Sam.
Oh, actually, I do know that. I don't know anything but I've never
So
listened
we
to
have a lot of
Yeah.
fun doing that.
They've never asked me to be a guest on there.
it. They don't. Do you listen to it?
Occasionally, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Make sure
that's
they're
why.
behaving. Make sure they're behaving themselves and not talking
Once a
about too
month.
many
Once a
band
month.
books
Yeah.
on there.
So no, Sam is the producer, so you'll have
Yeah,
to talk
Sam's
about
the
him
producer.
if you want to guess.
We
the
should
spot.
have. Oh yeah, we should. Yeah, that would be really fun. That would be fun.
I also do the fiction book displays back in the fiction department, and the movie displays out here by the reference desk. So those change every month, and I come up with a new theme for each of those each month.
That's a
Then
lot
I
of stuff.
also do individual programs too. Like I had one a couple of weeks ago, the Milwaukee Goes Dry, about the
Yeah.
Prohibition years here in
Oh.
Milwaukee. You know, it's very interesting. A local author who he didn't write a book about that. He has written other local history books, but he had written an article, I think it was in Milwaukee Magazine, about the Prohibition. So that was really interesting, and I also have one coming up next week, Lincoln Among the Badgers. So it's a history author who wrote a book about Lincoln and his involvement with things in Wisconsin and all the memorials and that kind of stuff that's around Wisconsin. And one last thing that I put down here, I do our Twitter account as well. I know that's been in the news a lot this last few years. It's not as, we were talking about this once at a staff meeting, it's not really as crazy as it always sounds with controversy and things like that. If you don't follow all the crazy people, then you don't get into all that. I mean, we mostly follow and are followed by libraries, so you know.
Do we have a Threads yet?
No,
No, we should probably get on there.
Andy could do it.
Oh yeah.
That's the newest
Yeah.
one. It's another Facebook and Instagram thing, so you can just link them all together. But
And that's about all I had here.
that's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Favorite part of your job?
We won't ask you your least favorite.
Gotta be meeting rooms.
I guess probably working with the media collection. I do like picking out the movies and doing the purchases for those. I actually really do kind of enjoy the meeting rooms in a way because it is so challenging.
Oh.
I was gonna say it's like a giant
Gotcha.
puzzle.
From that
Would not be
way,
my favorite.
okay.
But yeah, I would say the media collection really is what I like the best.
Great.
Thank you for all
Does
of your work.
anybody have any other specific questions for him?
Do you have any questions for us?
Do you have
I
anything
don't
you?
think so, but hopefully we'll have some news for you with the meeting room software
Yeah.
Right,
soon
for
and
sure.
everything, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. for
All right.
everything you do.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank-
and
thank
thanks
you
for
for
being here
having me.
tonight too.
Yeah.
Drop in here.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Thanks.
Don't forget to get Jennifer on that podcast.
Right.
I'm thinking the rest
And
of
they
the
have to
year,
let
I'm
us
like,
know.
yeah. You guys read something interesting.
Alrighty, there is no one here to make a public comment, so we'll go on to the approval of the August 28th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. That is on pages 2 and 3 of our board packet.
Motion to approve as written.
I second.
Mike and Doris. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain?
You can abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay,
I don't know
Judy.
if you want to talk about. It's like an extra sentence, Judy.
Sorry, I just need to bug you, Annie.
Judy is on the record for making extra work for Annie by abstaining. So, motion carries. Okay. Finance Committee, Alan.
Okay. Fund 15 vouchers. I, again, didn't see anything on here that jumped out at me as really different. So I'm looking for a motion to approve $21,401.18.
I so move.
Second. Annie and Annalee. Any other questions about Fund 15 vouchers or invoices, I mean? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstained? Motion carries.
Fund 16, again, nothing that jumped out. As a matter of fact, the amount is
Little
even quite
one.
small, yeah. I'm looking for a motion to approve the Fund 16 vouchers in the amount of $3,003.93.
I'll make that motion.
Oh.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We will give it to Michelle.
That's fine.
Annie, you want to be the second?
Sure.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstained? Motion carries.
Okay, in my write-up, we're at 66.58% of the year. Our total revenue in Fund 15 is 97.25% of the budget. Investment earnings were $4,399, that's still pretty strong. Expenditures were 63.91% of the budget. Electricity continues to be high at 9,836, and we finally got the adjustment in the interdepartment allocation.
Yes.
The adjustment for dust-free, it looked higher than what I thought it should be, and then having a conversation with Jennifer, she explained to me that because we didn't have the person working for us before we had dust-free, that's part of the adjustment. If you looked at the financials where I do that monthly thing, you'll see that the interdepartment allocation cost, there's a negative $39,665 in April. I threw it in April because they did not put it in August. They backdated it. So I had to find some place, and that was an empty spot because they didn't charge us that month, and they doubled up in May.
Gotcha.
So we could highlight it. I threw the 39,665 out there.
And this is just your spreadsheet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that's why
Yeah,
it's
it's not-
1,851.
Oh, right, and
Yeah,
to get to
okay.
the 39,000, I took last month's year-end balance. Subtracted it from this month's year-end balance, and then adjusted for the 1,851, and the difference left was the 39,665. So I know that's what it had to be.
So what do we anticipate we are paying on a monthly basis for this cleaning?
3152 is our,
Okay,
But
okay,
that's what we're
Yeah.
paying dust-free.
okay.
And they're adjusting it, I did a calculation at the budget, and it looks like we're gonna be charged like $4,800.
for dust free.
No, for the interdepartment allocations.
Yeah.
And it used to be about $7,800, and so it's almost the amount of dust free,
It's pretty close.
pretty close.
And we just have one person coming in, or?
I
That's a
think- I
lot of
think-
money, I would become a
I
personal
think
retirement.
we'll be discussing it later in
Yeah,
the
I'll
agenda.
discuss it later.
Okay.
Yeah, because they know I'm not real happy with them, so, and
It is more than one person.
I'm scheduling a
Judy, should we
meeting.
do it?
You know, I don't know,
Some
side
nights-
business, maybe you and I
yeah,
like
really.
team up at night. Nice supplemental income.
Many
Well,
nights,
volunteer if you do.
many nights, there's only been one person here for 2 hours, and we should have 2 people here for 2 hours. So we're getting half, this is why I'm scheduling a meeting.
Okay,
Cool.
Remember, it's every night, 2 hours. It's not just you get $31.50 for showing up for 2 hours.
Which might be
So
what's
it'd be-
happening now.
So it should be 4 hours a
So until they
night,
figure it out.
times 20. So they come Monday through Friday. So, 20 occurrences during a calendar month. 20.
and how
So
much
we're
are
gonna
they
talk
paying
about
them
that
per
later?
hour?
Yes.
Okay, we'll
That
talk
I
about it
don't
later
know.
then.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what Dust Free's paying them.
Okay, because that just seems like a lot.
Moving right
Now that-
along, I
that
didn't
just
see any
makes
other
sense.
accounts that had
Okay.
to be discussed because they were listed in prior months. And did anybody see anything in Fund 15 that they wanted to question?
Just,
Nothing hasn't
just
already
those numbers that were crazy in June on your sheet.
Oh, that's because
Was that whole
It is-
issue with the?
at the payroll, we have 3 payrolls.
Yes,
in-
okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
yep,
Happens twice a year,
yep,
June and December.
that's true, yep, okay.
Okay, Fund 16, revenues were 88.92% of the budget. Investment earnings were 642. Library fines, the quarterly revenue came in 1 month late. What is that, Jennifer? Do we get the
The e-commerce funds.
e-commerce fines? And we get those quarterly. And this came in 1 month late, but we now have it.
Okay, so now where we are right now, 8 months into the year, or the 66.58 is at $13,000, 443, right? Just to clarify before we go into the next topic.
For fines.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
13,443.
just, okay,
And that's probably right where it should be.
okay.
Total expenditures were 85.44% of the budget. And Oh, software maintenance, it's an annual charge, that's last month, I didn't delete it. Some people don't cut and paste as well as they should.
But it helps explain a big number.
Right.
Yeah. And the cash register report
Go ahead and
was
say it.
Perfect.
Again.
As always.
as expected.
As expected.
As expected.
As expected.
There was a time it wasn't expected, but.
Right.
So now it's perfect. Any questions on anything in Fund 16? Really wasn't that much going on in 16.
Till summer reading's over.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Okay, the last report that I have is the credit card summary, and that too looked about normal. There's nothing that jumped out at me. Jennifer, are you taking the budget?
I can, if you,
No, I can talk about it, it's just,
yeah,
didn't-
that part of the business, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was feeling pretty good as I went through the budget.
Wait, time out. Have we moved to the budget update? Is that what we're
Oh,
on?
good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are moving now into new business budget update. Go for it.
I was very,
I wasn't sure if it's just.
I'm just, there's numbers,
Yeah, you're
I'm
just-
rolling.
Yeah, right.
I was pleased to see that the budget numbers that we have here are, that we got from the mayor is pretty much what we
What we asked
asked
for.
for, yeah. I thought that's
Yes.
good. We could see that sundry contractors is $38,000. That's a $3,152 a month, so. Jennifer made a comment that although we're reducing the allocated interdepartment allocation costs, it's dropping from like 93,894 this year to 53,880 in next year's budget. That's a substantial savings, but we're seeing 1 year of dust-free, and our health insurance and regular insurance were up. One was up about 13%, the insurances, and the other insurance was about 15%, and that's what I'm seeing personally too. So it's just a bad year for insurance.
Yeah.
Do we know why our allocated insurance cost in our proposed budget was less than what the mayor recommended?
Oh, because that's the number they put in.
Okay, so we just didn't have the right
I don't
information?
know, I don't usually put numbers in there
Right,
because that's a city
it's a city thing.
number, so I'm not sure why they,
Okay,
I think when we originally put it together, that 33,737,
might have just been, I might have just accidentally put your numbers in there, you know?
yeah, and then they came up and said,
Okay.
no, this is what it really is.
that was the only difference that I saw, is that right? That was the only
Yeah.
one that was off, okay.
Yeah. So, I think we have a good budget, and we should be able to meet it and deal with it, as long as nothing crazy happens.
We do still have the finance committee will be looking at our budget on October
Second.
2nd.
Yes, yes, I confirmed that earlier today with our city administrator as well.
Oh, thank you, yeah,
So
yeah. I was
we'll be
gonna talk about
prepared.
that
I am
again, too.
actually on vacation, but Carrie will be well prepared. Maria is very well. Maria knows the budget inside and out too.
Yeah, girl.
So, yeah, so we actually got a spot.
The
Which
finance-
is
Is
a
that
huge difference from
Last.
any other year I've been on the board. So, yes, the library has never had, we've never been in the book, the binder, for years.
is
We
this
haven't even been
at
in the binder.
council meeting, or this is a regular?
Well, the budget
Finance.
binder, Michelle knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The city puts out the budget binder.
No, I
That's
mean
like-
the meeting.
And because we're not
Finance
in the
committee.
budget binder, we were never allowed a spot in the meetings. We showed up for most of them the
I
past couple
did one year. I
years.
showed up for every single one
Yeah,
of them.
but we never had. So
Yeah,
this
that- I
is this
remember.
is huge.
Yeah, it was
This
on
this
finance
is
last
really
year.
good this year.
Good.
We actually
That-
will.
That was one of the goals,
It
wasn't
was absolutely. So it's
That
happened.
reminds me, Jennifer, can you send me your goals? Sorry,
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
I can email you that right now, so.
Okay,
Fund 16 budget,
right.
uh, I see that interest on investments, we had 5,000, they took it up to 6,300. That probably makes more sense.
Yeah, they thought we kind of lowballed it.
Well,
We're conservative.
But we don't know.
What if we
We
have
just
a
don't
bad
know.
year again, like 2021?
and that's part, because they added the $1,300 up there, when you come down to the net revenues versus appropriations, that's a positive $1,300.
Oh,
But in
gotcha.
fact, it usually balances exactly because what we put into 16 comes out of 15.
Right.
Yeah. Any questions on the budget?
Looks good.
No.
One thing I was gonna mention, and I told Alan before the meeting, McFliss had an overage of, they had some leftover money from 2022 that they
Whoa.
didn't use. And so they decided, that they would be picking up all the cataloging costs for all the libraries in 2024. This is a one-time, one-year
Sure.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't really take it out of the budget because needs to be a placeholder for next year. But it gives us 15,000, something to think about as you look at the budget, 15,000 minus 3,600 because several, like 10 of the libraries are going together to purchase the Journal Sentinel online.
Oh,
There'll be an app and
right,
online
right,
and
right.
everything.
Okay.
And
For
before,
library card holders?
yeah.
Can
So,
access them?
yeah. So
Oh.
before I knew about the cataloging money, I said no. Because I'm like, where in the
Yeah.
heck am I gonna find 3,600?
Yeah.
But this gives us a chance to try it for a year.
Yeah.
If it's popular, if it's
Yeah.
well used, then next year we're probably gonna have to make sacrifices in some other areas. They're not, but I don't know exactly. But it might be
But still.
used by other people.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll see. We have a year to try it out.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for either Alan or Jennifer regarding the budget? All right. We are going to move on to a discussion. There's no action, but a discussion regarding fine-free libraries. When Jennifer emailed us Shorewood's decision to go fine-free, there were several comments that came back, and so Jennifer and I decided if several people are commenting, maybe we should just have a discussion about it, so Jennifer knows where the board stands on this issue. So I am going to begin, I guess, by saying I am not in favor of Franklin going fine-free for a variety of reasons. Let's see. The fact that we are a public library providing materials and resources to our community makes us an equitable organization. So I don't think pulling the issues of racial and economic inequity into the library is right, because we are a library, you know. I think that that us providing materials and resources has nothing to do with the fines. I mean, you come, you check out a book, you bring it back in 3 weeks. So that's not discouraging anybody from any kind of background from using our library. So I don't think it's a good idea to lump that all into that. If we were charging for people to check out DVDs, like a rental fee, if we were charging people to attend programs, then I think it would be fair to look at those and ask those questions on, are we really being equitable to our community? But I don't think fines really has anything to do with it. So I know that we do generate revenue from fines, and I know that we can't count on that. However, we are getting revenue from fines. That's something, you know, that we do incorporate into our budget. I asked someone about this, and their initial response was, well, then why even have due dates? Or the due dates then mean nothing. Now, granted, if somebody keeps something and it's, then it's declared missing or late or whatever,
They
then
just
you
get
can
a bill
shut-
for replacement is what
Right,
happens.
right.
Yeah.
But me, as a patron who's expecting that materials will be here, I can't really count on, if it says a book is going to be back in 3 weeks, I can no longer use that as a guarantee. So,
But we can't now, I guess is.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I've
I
never-
agree with that.
Even when something's due in 3 weeks, I always tell them, it's very dependent on whether somebody returns it.
Yeah, yep. I'm not sure that I really cared for the presentation of this. It looked to me more like a sales pitch than a information. So anyways, that is my opinion. My opinion on it. So I'm assuming other people may want to say other things too, since people did respond. So
I think it's a terrible idea. I have experience with it. So I'll tell you, when I was younger at my library where I grew up, they had like hardcover books and they had due dates, and then they had softcover books, and there were no due dates and there were no fines associated with it, and people just would return it, and then you wouldn't have it available for other patrons to use. When I had the hard
Right.
copy books and I had checked them out, I'd make sure I would get them back because I knew, to your point, if I didn't, I was going to get a fine. I mean, we're not charging low-income families for the books. All you need to do in order to avoid a fine is return it on time. So
And
that's just my anecdotal
and that's
story.
not targeting them.
No,
or
yeah.
yeah.
But that's
Right.
just my anecdotal story of dealing with it, like from my personal experience. Like I'd be like, it's this is a softcover book. I'm gonna go through my hardcover ones first, return those, and the softcover one when I get to it, I get to it. And to your point, we charge them at some point, for missing, but they have to come in and pay it, right? I think that's more of a deterrent than saying you have to have it back or there's going to be a small fine. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. I just don't think it's a good idea, and I agree with a lot of stuff you said. So
I had a couple questions, and one of them was, what is Mickless doing on this?
That was gonna be mine.
Nicholas
Because,
doesn't do anything on it, because it's
So-
up to the individual libraries.
so Shorewood could be the lone island of the
In
Mickless.
Wauwatosa.
And Wauwatosa is here, and if we did it, we'd be another one, but it's not something that everybody's doing.
No, but I think that you could see a trend.
Yeah, I feel
And
like it's
if-
probably gonna go that way.
I feel like if what might hit us hard is if Oak Creek goes fine free, I could see us losing. I'm not as worried about Greendale and Hales Corners; they have such small collections. But if Oak Creek went fine free, I think that could hurt us in the circulation area.
what happens? So say you have somebody, a patron from Wauwatosa could request one of our materials, part of Mickless. So do they get a due date that they have to return it back?
And they get a
Because-
fine.
Okay,
It's
and they
From
do get
us.
a fine
Only
because it's
only on
all
Wauwatosa
materials.
items or Shorewood items now. So
Okay.
yeah, theoretically, you
Yeah.
could have a patron who's savvy and figures out they're not going to get a fine on Shorewood or Wauwatosa and constantly request things from those libraries
Right.
to be sent here because they won't get a fine.
But then that helps us because we get the interdepartmental or don't we get a
We get the
transfer?
reciprocal borrowing.
We get reciprocal borrowing money from that. So maybe we want to encourage
No,
our
no,
patrons.
it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. We
The
lose.
opposite.
No, it's
so
the
Shorewood's
opposite.
going to get it.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So I have to say, when I first heard, I was like, no way, this is the worst idea I ever have heard. But when I read through this and you start to look at the numbers of it and how many people that had basically been blocked from being able to go to the libraries that all of a sudden came back to the libraries and now are all of a sudden going to the libraries and bringing items back, it kind of did make me realize in some places that this actually does help those communities and those people
I think
that
that's a key thing that you said there. The statement that stood out for me was
Is-
the implementation of fines has proven to discourage community members. I think it depends on the community.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think it's an issue in Franklin.
I agree.
So we're not by having fines, we're not discouraging anybody. So that's the major premise here. I don't think we'll call it a rule. I don't think the rule applies to us because
However,
you would have heard by now. You would have heard.
Well,
Why are you charging me fines? I can't afford to go to the library.
Right.
I would
we
s-
do sometimes.
I
hear
would
that,
say though, and we could make a policy that for those who ask or those who bring it up, obviously we should have exceptions. We probably do, or maybe we don't. I don't know. But I think we like to think that there aren't very many people that are that low income. But I think that the lunch rates are higher than they have been for free, and lunch and stuff are higher than they have been in a very, very long time.
Okay, I am sorry.
In the school
Bring
district.
your books back on time and you will never have a fine. Why are you even worried about what your income is to
So
pay the
my
time
debate on it would
fine?
be, that's assuming everybody have access to get here.
Right,
Everybody
they had
has
access
There
to
is no
get
bus
here
line.
to get the
Accessibility
material.
assumes that students have all those things, like, you know, I think it's one thing, and as I read through the article too, obviously, you know how I respond with email, but I can stand either way, but I think it's one thing to have fines, it's another thing if it's damaged or never returned, right? So like, we
Right.
can
Right.
determine, like, maybe we're not gonna have fines at 3 weeks for those that don't get in to extend it or whatever, if we decide
Right.
to. It doesn't mean that if you just never return things, you don't eventually have a fine or.
Right, a
there's
fee,
Right.
sure.
profit.
Or
But I
sure.
look at it like, yeah, if kids are late to school all the time because their parents don't bring them on time, like, you know, it's one thing to turn them over for being late versus like a parent who has to have some responsibility to that. But I think for adults too, like it's not everybody. We can think we're just really affluent in Franklin and don't have people with needs, but we do have people with needs.
We do.
Oh, yeah.
And
we
even
do,
the-
We have a
absolutely.
lot of people.
And even the
Numbers of
senior
free reduced, and they're less
citizens.
likely to be able
Right.
to go out and
Right.
buy the books and have easy access. So like, in keeping the fines, like the people that can return them, I don't know our data. I would love to see our data, right? Like, I'm more data driven than feeling
Yeah.
driven on things. 'Cause-
So I
so,
feel
what
like,
does that look like for us? And I did hear someone say like that we don't charge low income families. Like, if that's true, how do we know they're low income families? Like, I would.
Right.
You know,
I don't
like, I would
know.
want us to have an equitable practice to what that looks like.
Right.
You know, to consider.
But even like the senior citizens that we
Mhm.
have, the same thing. Like they're living on a fixed income. Everything keeps getting more and more expensive. How do we know if they are deterred or not from coming to our library?
but we're not charging to take out our books.
But we're
Right,
only
I know,
really,
but
right now, we're
why-
looking at a revenue of only
18,000 a year.
18,000 a year is really,
That's
That's
1/3 of
enough.
our Fund 16 budget.
Yeah, it would be a significant hit to our programming.
it would.
Unless it's replaced by some other funding
Right.
source.
I do think if we ever did look into this, which I'm not saying I could go either way on this, to be honest, because a lot of me also thinks like,
Personal responsibility.
right, like, but there would have to definitely be a replacement and a damage fee for me, like
Oh,
personally.
sure,
Those
sure.
things would have to, because
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, why is somebody
Children
ever
in
going to?
Wauwatosa both, you know, instead of getting your first overdue notice at 4 weeks, you basically get a bill.
So
Right.
I guess my question, oh, sorry. if you
No,
have
no, no, go ahead.
My questions are, if somebody can't afford to pay an overdue fee, how are they gonna be able to afford to pay for a whole book? You know, if they don't have that.
Well, the idea is they send out the replacement and that jogs people's memory and they return it.
But then
And
why
they,
is
and
the
they're more,
notice of
they're more
fine?
What's the data
incentivized to
on that?
return it. Well, okay, so I was talking to my husband, cause he's at TOSA. And so they're very, very data driven. And they're overdue right now. So they keep a list of before they change the fine policy to now. And they've seen a 2% drop in overdue, so they actually are getting things back sooner.
That was
That's
what
interesting.
some of that
How
was
long have
saying.
they had that in place?
A year.
So
Oh,
one
they've
thing I
had that
noticed-
long.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
one thing I noticed about the study was, first of all, it was from 2019.
I tried to find
And the
something
statistics-
recent, and I
Before
just
2020.
And the statistics they cited were for 3 weeks after implementation. So I wanted to know what is
What
the
happened after
long-term
that?
impact,
and
and I can't
yeah.
tell how much change is this. 38 previously Black patrons renewed their accounts. Well, how many Black patrons did you already have? I mean, if you have 4,000 and the 38, that's like a very small percentage.
Yeah.
They don't have any of that in here.
And they
It's
also
really
seem to be
hard.
missing the data on, oh, we had this many more people sign up for cards or whatever, but then how many people then were charged for missing books?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't seem to be in here. We had
Yeah,
X
for
amount of
our-
people sign up for new cards or have their cards reinstated, but then how many more people got their cards blocked because they weren't bringing their stuff back?
So where do we want to end this conversation?
Well, I guess I wanted to bring up one more thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is that the Shorewood Public Library, this is the email that Jennifer sent us. They are using an endowment fund to cover that money that was lost. And that really concerns me, that
Yeah.
people would be making donations to the foundation and it's gonna cover the money that we're losing
Oh, yeah,
because.
that's not gonna
I
happen.
mean,
So,
I would not go
just,
that route.
yes,
I
so
would
that
not
was,
do
that was
route.
another thing.
I-
So, are there any, I mean,
I just have one,
three or four of us had, and I know Ellen has one more
do we
question.
have anything like maybe twice a year where it would be like a
Well,
week?
Amnesty Day.
Like an amnesty, a week?
We've never done that.
Can we do that?
That's what I was gonna ask
Although
you.
my
Maybe
son
people
earned
look
it in
at-
the summer reading program one year, you could earn, or for a program,
Yeah.
you could earn a forgiven
Fee.
fine. Yes,
Wasn't
it
that a
was.
book you came and you read?
Could you pay it
Wasn't
forward?
that
It was like a reading day. That was right.
Yeah.
They brought their sleeping
Somebody's
bags and so
full of-
That's a
anyways.
great idea. You know,
Yeah,
if
that is a
you
good
have
idea.
enough times where you've brought it back on time, you get to acquire an opportunity to be late.
Or just like a
Yeah,
food
or
drive,
just
like I've
like
seen
a-
libraries do a
yeah.
food drive or other things where like,
Food
sometimes
for
just things
fines.
happen, like let's assume good intent, right? Like,
Right.
Yes.
sometimes I've returned
Yes.
library books late, like I'll acknowledge.
Oh,
Right.
There's two on the
I
counter
found like a
right
third
now.
of that.
I probably won't find
So
it.
there's opportunities for
Yes,
us
yes.
to.
So I have a
have some
feeling,
fun.
yes, and I
was gonna
have
ask a question before,
Yep.
could I just?
Go-
go
no,
ahead?
go
It was
right
like
ahead.
3 people ago,
And then
okay.
after.
Yep.
So like, we said we have $18,000, like do we have a divide of that, of what is damage never returned versus?
That's all overdue
What is
fines.
fees?
That's
Just
all
fees, like
overdues
fines
because
for overdue?
loss
Like, we
and
don't break it down.
replacement is in a different.
Cause I would
category.
wonder like how much is just late fees versus if we're
Yeah.
just gonna take away potentially late fees. Not saying we're doing it or not, I can live either way, but like, what is that actually like?
18,000.
18,000.
But we don't know that, I mean.
Yes, we
what
do.
I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
no, she said
She just said that.
damage stuff is in a different
Oh,
account.
okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's okay.
So like the replacements are in a different.
All right, Michelle?
So only late
Oh.
fees is in the 18,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask, do we ever allow people for valid excuses? Like, let's say somebody was hospitalized, or what if a high school student came into us and said, you know, I am so sorry, but I couldn't find a ride here to get this book back, or are there excuses
I'm
that
sure.
are
I mean,
allowed or
definitely
tolerated?
I mean, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
You
what
know,
I
if
thought.
somebody continues,
To use that
to use
excuse
the
over and over,
excuse,
right, catch on. But
you know,
Case by
yes.
case
But
basis.
yes, I think, and you know, when a person comes in and they're in their 20s out of college, and we look them up and we're like, oh, you had a card when you're in high school, and it's, you know, you have like $50 in fines. We forgive them because they were a kid then.
Do we have a limit on how much we will charge for a fine or not? Like a cap out?
It's $5.
$5 per book?
See, I'd be willing to raise that.
Yeah, oh, and how much do we fine for, is it per day? Is it 10 cents yet? No, or not. How much
Oh,
is
it's still 10 cents.
It's 10 cents a day. That's what our fine is.
oh,
And we don't charge for what, the first 3 or 5 days or something?
you know,
Yeah, you got the
For,
grace
You
period.
haven't-
for,
no grace
for
period.
most items, there are some items there is no grace period.
And you can renew online, so you don't even have to
Yes, right.
return, you
And-
can renew. Can you
Yeah.
return over the phone if you don't have internet at your house, for example?
Like
Yes,
renew over the phone?
you can
Yes.
renew over the phone.
Okay,
oh.
so
If an item
you don't
has a
have to
hold,
return,
can't
you
renew.
can renew, but you have to get off dead center and do something.
Yeah, I feel like it teaches like responsibility, and I feel like for some of our senior citizens, it gives them some purpose.
Mhm.
You know, of like, oh, I gotta get this book read because this is the due date. Because senior
Mm-hmm.
citizens are usually pretty timely, and they don't want to be late, and you know, it
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of encourages some of that mental stability. Maybe is another thought. I don't know. Either
Yeah,
way,
Judy,
I'm
to your
open
point, you know, if this was something that has been proven countrywide for years, you'd say, oh yeah, you know, there's some good data behind it where we're definitely, you know, maybe we haven't looked at a situation where we are keeping people away. But it's pretty small in scope
Right.
and pretty minimal in its approach, and like
Yeah.
somebody said, it's a solution looking for a problem.
Right. Well, and I know we tried doing that survey. Of course, it goes to library patrons. But I wondered if you did like a library patron survey and it said, would you return your books or would you have more access to the library if you didn't have to pay fines?
That's
I don't know
risky
what people
business.
Well, I
say.
know-
People
well,
say
that's
like, yeah, I don't
also-
want to, but I don't know. I don't. For me
Yeah.
personally, when I don't return the book, I feel like it's a it's a donation to the library,
Well,
and
a lot of people feel that way, but maybe if we didn't have fines, we might collect more in donations, because
Right?
I
people
doubt
may
it.
say, I don't know.
How would the city of Franklin look at them having to give us $18,000
Well,
more if we
you
didn't
know, funny
collect
that you
fines?
mentioned that, because the mayor did leave a message on my voicemail over the weekend, because he
And said, stop charging fines?
looked at our agenda and said he's
That was-
concerned about that. But I called him back and said it's just a discussion item.
Right, good. Well, at least we know he's looking at our
our
agendas.
That's
Okay.
good to
I
know.
did reassure him that it's just a discussion.
Right.
We are not getting rid
All right.
of fines.
Did you have one more question?
No,
Or was that it?
That was it.
Okay. I have a feeling this may be revisited again if it becomes like a
Who
Mick
knows?
Bliss or a director. But at
I may
least
be
now you can
retired by
give
that
feedback if you have a director's meeting and it comes
You're
up
not
or something.
retiring
So
anytime soon.
Right.
I do know, Pete, that Wauwatosa's circulation has gone up more than the other libraries in the system. It'll be
Has it-
interesting to see if Shorewood's also does the same.
has it been within this past year
Yeah,
after COVID? And
Yeah.
okay, well, we'll see.
but ours also has gone up too, so
Yes,
it's
exactly.
just proportionately.
Right. Okay. Well, yes, and it's something we can track, but it still doesn't mean we're necessarily gonna
Right.
change our policy at this point. Okay. Thank you all for your opinions and your discussion. We have two policies to review. Our privacy policy, and that we'll do first. And I did have a question all the way on it's page 35 of the packet. It's the last page of the policy. If we just needed to change anything with the images from the surveillance system, now that we're going to the citywide system, will they be storing anything?
They will, and
And
it's,
this is as it's stored in the library, I
but
think.
the server is in the library,
is,
so I
okay.
kept it in there.
Okay.
You
It's
know,
not
maybe
gonna
I should have
be-
had Jim Metelsky look it over.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
But the images are going to be stored on the server
Here.
here.
But okay. I couldn't remember what he said about what's gonna be stored over at City
But
Hall. But
if
you
it makes
probably
you-
don't
if it makes you
really know
feel
the
better, I
details
can-
of all that.
I can send this to him and have
just-
him look
yeah.
it over.
Oh, I don't know if he needs a whole policy, but just that pair. I just wanted to make sure that it was accurate at that point, but. All right, any questions about it? We did.
So we're gonna table that for further review.
No, I think she'll, maybe we could make a motion that she can, check with him and change that word, or would you feel more comfortable tabling? Okay, we will table the privacy policy until next month. To get that question answered, where the data will be stored, or those
Okay.
images. Okay, and then the posting and distribution policy is next with, the changes Jennifer made in red. Do we need to cite the soliciting policy, second line bullet pointish thing from the bottom of the first page? Do we wanna, since we,
On page 36.
yes. Do we just wanna say, see soliciting policy, or do you think that? Do we ever
Under
cross-reference those?
Well, we did cross-reference
No, I
this
mean, way
policy
at the
in our.
bottom, like the second up. from
Oh,
the bottom.
okay.
I don't know, about distribution of materials directly to patrons, because,
Well, it's headed posting and distribution policy, so it fits.
right, no, I know.
Well,
Please,
solicitation's a different
Yeah.
policy though.
this is in. I
Right,
can add like,
just in parentheses, like,
Yeah, how is this different from the policy that we were talking about a few months ago?
this
that's
is
the-
posting.
This is posting
Posting,
and
like,
distribution inside the library, like our
The
display.
display cases, this case.
Yeah, but that distribution of materials by individuals directly to patrons and solicitation or petitioning of any kind, that's
That-
much broader than posting.
Right, that's why I was wondering if we needed to cross-reference, or just make a
think-
note.
Do we want to change the
Or do
heading
we
of the
wanna just-
policy and just
You
make
could
it a
say
posting policy?
And
See,
take
I
that
don't
out
disagree.
there.
I think that's a better idea, is to just say posting and then to take out that sentence about distribution of materials.
Because then everything else
Okay.
fits.
You're right.
Okay.
And then
So-
I can set a question as a policy matter, is there a reason why we decided that we were gonna allow employment notices on a case-by-case basis?
Where are you at?
I mean, the change
She's
that was made relating
employment
to employment
notices.
notices not being allowed
Yeah.
at all to now being allowed on a case-by-case basis.
I mean, that was because
Give us an
we
example
have
maybe
put,
of
like Warner
somebody.
Botanical Gardens was looking for an administrative assistant, so we did put a,
You allowed
we
that.
did allow that in the behind the glass case.
So if any company comes up to us and asks us, we're gonna start putting it up there as long
Generally,
as
we
there's
say
space.
no, but,
It's a case by
Yeah.
case,
Case.
since it was,
or we could just say we don't allow, just go back to the way, we don't accept them, with the exception
Well, I
of
don't
the
think
city
it's
of
a terrible
Franklin.
idea. It's just I'm a little worried about people being like, well, why was mine accepted and this one not?
Right.
And
Right.
Like if,
You
Right.
crack, you
If
crack the door
Aurora's
open a little
coming-
bit, and all of a sudden it's,
right.
yeah,
how do you say no? How do you say no?
right.
Right. And but if somebody's allowed to, but then somebody who's donated to the library wants to, and then they're turned away, or I mean,
usually
All the
we say
city
for profit,
positions.
we don't. Like
Okay.
Aurora, if Aurora came across the street with an employment, we'd be like, I'm sorry, we can't put that in there.
So
I mean-
do we need to say not for
Or is
profit?
it nonprofit?
Yeah, maybe you need to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say
employment
Aurora-
post
Aurora's
notice
say
saying
nonprofit, then you would
Yeah,
have
but that is Aurora.
But
Well,
not
is it?
we're not.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
It's just
are they non-profit or not for profit?
They're not for.
they're not for
Not for
profit.
profit.
They're
So
not a
that's different.
non-profit.
So you have to be
yeah.
careful and say nonprofit organizations may post on a case by case basis. I don't know. I just wanted to ask the question about what there was a reason why we made the policy decision because of
I think it's because Carrie said she's posted some things with some
Yeah.
very limited.
And Berner, was that a county job, technically? Or was it
the
like
Friends,
their,
it was the Friends of the Warner Botanical Gardens.
oh, so it was like so it wasn't like a county job or
No.
a city job? Okay.
Is it even a job? We're just a posting
did pay.
for a position. Oh,
It did
Well, that's
pay.
true,
It
right.
I
wasn't
wanna
a
get paid.
volunteer one. It was like they're looking for
Come
an
and
administrative
vacuum here for
assistant.
2 hours a night.
I'm not doing that.
Well, it already says dependent on space.
Yeah.
yeah. I guess we'll just leave it at that. But then we'll
Yeah.
have to post it.
But I do agree that we have to
Yeah.
like apply it consistently. So we have to either take it out or just figure out a way to word it so that we could say, well, we
Yeah.
can't.
So to be clear, like if Aurora Down comes across and we have adopted this policy, and Aurora comes the street and wants to across the street and wants to post something, we're going to post it. If
No,
there's
we're not
space?
gonna have space. You know how easy it is to eliminate space?
I know. Well, we're going to
Okay.
make space for everybody.
Never mind.
Or just go back and
Go to, with
Go
the
back to the
exception of
original.
City of Franklin
Yeah.
employment
Yeah, I think
notices.
you-
I think
I
that's
think you
probably
just
better.
need to.
There's enough positions open in the city of Franklin.
Right,
We should
it'll
probably
always
fill all
be
the
full.
space.
It It's not making
And
us
by the
space.
way,
Yes.
by the way,
Can
we
you look
already
on
have not-for-profit organizations listed as being acceptable.
We shouldn't be laughing at that.
No,
Or-
we're
Products
getting-
or
we're getting
services,
them
but not
filled. We've come a long
employment.
way so
Preference
far.
for posting shall be given to materials from sponsoring agencies in the following order.
But that's not,
Franklin area community not-for-profit organizations.
You're saying that's educational, informational, civic, and cultural resources? But why couldn't that include as informational
it's
information
not
about
employment.
employment? Was informational? We have an opening.
You're saying that's how we can get around that, or not?
Well,
you
I'm
know,
saying
that can
if,
be
if you
like,
say employment notices will be accepted, and then we have a provision saying informational is accepted from these, are they going to say, well, you allow employment notices? This is informational. Why shouldn't we be posting it? I don't know. I think we're opening up a can of worms.
So
by-
let's strike that and go back to the original.
Okay.
Can
Okay.
we just strike the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Unemployment notices.
under
Yeah, no, but can we just strike employment notices? Because isn't it covered under that first preference for posting? Who will do it?
I guess when I read that-
Specifying employment notice?
well, I guess when I read that first one, I personally wouldn't put employment notices under informational.
the way I
Or-
read it,
but-
yeah, the way I would interpret it, and Terry, I'm interested in what you would say, but we have informational that could include employment, but because we have the notice, the statement later
Down.
on saying employment notices will not be accepted, that means it's clear that employment notices are not part of the informational because we're making it absolutely clear employment notices are not included.
That's
you-
why I'm
do you
saying,
agree?
can we
It
just,
seems that's the more specific one would govern that more
Right.
narrow second exception.
Right. So if we took out employment notices, what that would mean is if the city of Franklin came to us and they wanted to post something that was an employment notice, potentially would come within the informational, we'd have to post it.
Right.
So if we're okay posting those materials, then we could just take that out, to your point.
That entire,
Yeah,
Okay.
why specify?
so take out the entire employment notices thing and take out the entire distribution of materials. And then are
It's gonna be
we,
shorter. It's gonna get on one page.
no way. So are we changing it then also to just a posting policy?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're taking that out at the top, the very top, the name. All right, anything else?
I have
Oh,
one.
oh, I have a, yeah,
Oh.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm wondering if we should say, though, we do say we reserve the right to limit the size, number of copies, and duration of posting. I wonder if we should just say, and we have the right to refuse to post in our discretion or something like that.
Thought it was,
Yeah. Oh, just see all brochures, posters, magazines, signs,
Right.
and similar
Supposed
materials.
to be submitted.
Why would we be posting a magazine?
Oh, they bring in those, they're not posting it, but on that desk. And do you guys consider that posting, those materials on
Anything,
that
it's, if it's
desk?
displayed, it's posted. I
Okay, so
suppose.
there's those racks on that desk in the middle of the entryway that have,
there are some like magazines.
yes, some like magazine format, like in the, like the rec department when they published a catalog, those were there. There's like senior stuff that's
Yeah.
sometimes there,
Sometimes we do put like the Wisconsin tourism
right?
stuff out.
Right. That's what,
Well, I just wonder if in the procedure where the first sentence then, if we should say, where it says maybe submitted for approval, if we should say, yeah, and the library director will,
for approval.
yeah, for approval, maybe we just leave it at that.
Yeah,
And
I think
that's
that's-
fine.
Where's
Or
that?
just- No, I said,
That's very at the end.
It's
That's
a very,
very
yeah,
end
it's a thought
procedure.
at the
Yeah,
end.
we
Says you
say-
just have to get approval.
we say there,
okay.
you need to approve it anyway.
And these are, correct me if I'm wrong, can they just like leave stuff, or do they have to like, you said it's behind glass, right? So are all these postings like,
No, just some of them.
just some of them?
some of them? So behind the glass is where we put like our, like the posters, the flyers. On the kiosk is where we might put
A lot of the city stuff is there.
a lot of the
Employment
city
notices.
stuff.
Brochures.
Brochures from different organizations like Parkinson's or
And then all the desk is the racks with,
Okay.
the kiosks are strictly community, like Franklin
correct.
community events.
Do we have people who just like post things without permission?
Yes. They
And
have
you
to
just
look
pull
at
them
it
down?
every day.
You just pull it down
and they
every
throw it
day?
down. They throw it
Almost
away.
every day.
Yeah.
Maureen and
Do
I
you like
find
take a
stuff over
picture of it
there.
every day and?
So this is what it's supposed to look like.
Because that's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
No, they
pull
know
it
if
down.
they've approved it or not.
Yeah, just.
Oh, no,
pull
we
it down.
know. We could tell.
No.
I'm like, I never would have put, I'll go to Maureen. Did you put this? No, I did not.
Okay.
Wasn't me?
I mean, I think we do a pretty good job. We take them, pull them down pretty quickly.
All right.
Are
Okay,
we
so
approving
just
this
to
policy
clarify.
as
Yes.
altered?
Well,
We're
I have
changing
one
it
more
to the
question.
posting policy. We're
Correct.
striking the employment notices
Entire part.
and any other changes.
We're striking the distribution of materials entire part.
Okay.
It's like the second item
Yeah.
up from the bottom.
I did have one other thing because
Okay,
I
yes.
I consulted with the city clerk
Oh.
about the exterior signage because I want to make sure that our
We don't have anywhere outside to post things.
Do you mean
so-
in the windows?
no exterior signage like when the Little League put up a
Oh,
posters
like, or
thing.
the concert puts up like a big banner at Lewis
Oh,
Road. I guess
yeah.
that's technically posting.
So I talked with, because I was like, it's 14 days. You know, does the city have a limit?
Oh, right, right.
And what should I put in there? So then she said, no, they don't really have a limit, but she thought 14 days was reasonable. But then she said, you know, and then she said, this is just my opinion, but if you allow posting, you have to allow everybody to post. You can't. So her thought was to get rid of it and not allow anybody. Now that could be a problem because that corner
I know.
is very popular for the firefighters when they do their spaghetti dinner.
The historical.
The Franklin Education Foundation when they're doing
Yeah.
some of their fundraising event. I mean,
Well,
it's
even
just,
the movie,
The movie,
the
it
civic
costs-
celebration.
I was gonna ask if we could put our
The
Lions craft
parade.
fair out.
Exactly. See, there are.
And that doesn't have to be
Half the
approved by
time,
you.
even National Night Out, half the
Yeah.
time that's the only way that I remember those things.
It's a very popular corner for those big banners, but we very much limit it to who can put a
Right.
banner up there. It's not like anybody can put a banner up there.
Right.
No,
I mean, I just assume like those are
So I
the
don't-
only
do we need
things
to
that
work
you
on a
do with
separate-
those.
So I don't know
Oh.
exactly. I don't know exactly what to
read it.
put there.
Why, you haven't had a problem with it in the past.
I have not.
Like,
But I don't want to have a problem in the future because we have an unclear policy.
yeah.
Does this policy maybe cover the inside of the building? Obviously, it does cover. Is there any wording in here about the outside of the
Yeah, it
building?
talks about the posting of any exterior signage.
Right.
Oh, exterior.
Well, it
So
must
it
be
does say-
approved.
But it's, yeah, I was just gonna say, it's part of your procedure, this still has to be approved.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a law exam question in here somewhere.
Right now, do you get a lot of people asking?
Not really. Like I said, the Little League, it's very sporadic.
Right. Well, it also
Very-
costs a lot to print those huge banners. So I think people assume, unless you have one of those huge, like, I think people respect
I agree. I mean,
the spot. It's not like rummage sale
Yeah.
signs go up there.
The other sign I've
Right.
allowed is the Unite. What is that?
oh yes,
one?
the Unite for, and they put up all the pinwheels.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the health department.
That's a
that
health
does
department
that.
thing.
Yep.
So
But
the
that
health
still is a
department, the
city
historical
thing.
society,
They're all, like,
the
city-
firefighters, yeah,
You know, I mean,
the
we
concerts.
could just say we limit it to like
City function,
these
government.
to these.
I mean,
That's true.
it's,
Yep.
you've got that
Community.
in there already.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
and it's at your
you
discretion,
do have-
so I
Yeah.
You're
mean,
right. City, the
Isn't that kind of a
library,
moot
the
point?
city. You're right. You do.
Okay. So
All
I
right.
feel okay.
Ish. You're
When she
fine.
said that though, it did start me questioning myself.
I think you're fine
Well,
because
that's
we were
what-
ready to.
So
that's
it's
the-
okay.
You say
Oh.
who and you say when.
But I do like the not to exceed 14 days.
Yes.
That's fine.
So
None of that's allowed at City Hall to put signs
Right.
out.
They use our side of the
Yeah, they
our
use-
side of the street to
They don't-
advertise.
because honestly, theirs is not a great place.
I mean that corner of Drexel and Loomis, you have to admit, you're sitting there. Yeah, it's prime.
Yeah.
The past mayor election was the first time I can ever remember having political signs out there. So former Mayor Olson had allowed it.
Of course he did.
I
You
thought,
see them all over the place, so.
I thought it was state law that you couldn't put them up on,
We
public
think
property.
it's so many
Yeah.
days.
No,
City
no,
property.
Yeah.
There is a law
Yeah.
that is allowed. It was found for the first time, to my understanding, the city of Franklin during the last mayoral election. I wasn't able to put a sign out for my campaign, even though this is my district, outside City Hall. But then somehow somebody found out when the mayor election came, Mayor Olson announced that it would be allowed. And
So with
then it
those
became
changes,
battle
are
of
we
the
ready to
signs
go on
because
this?
Mayor Nelson
Mike,
had a
are you
bigger
ready to
sign.
make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this policy
Pending
with the
or with
modifications.
changes.
Mm-hmm.
second.
We're approving it or we're
Motioning to
Oh.
approve.
We're revising.
Revising.
We are moving to revise it with the changes. Is that?
And we're gonna do it today.
We are moving to approve the revision of the policy.
With the changes.
Well, that's a revision,
With the
right?
changes discussed.
No, because,
Do we know what our motion is yet that Annie's writing down?
no.
Yeah, it's what I say.
You want to read it back?
You'll find out what the motion is when we get the minutes.
I'm
next
gonna
time.
say, Mike Karlovic moves to approve revision of policy with the following changes.
And then she'll
To
list.
take, and the striking the two things and the taking down the posting thing. Does that work? Everybody okay with that? Somebody second?
Alan. Is that okay, Terry?
No. Is he doing it now because she said it? or-
Did you know that
Okay.
trunk or treat is the same date
All
as
in
the PTO
favor?
trunk or treat?
Anybody opposed? Okay, Michelle, do you have an update on council actions related to the
No,
milk rate?
the only update that I had was the October 2nd date. But we already
Yes, and
discussed
thank
that,
you.
So that was going to be
Yep.
my update. Other than that, right now with the budget that we went over, I have nothing else
Thank
at this
you.
time, but
October
thank you.
2nd Finance Committee meeting?
Mhm.
Annalee,
All
update from the public schools.
Sure. We looked at our numbers from the summer checkout for ebooks, and it was nearly 3,000.
Wow.
So I was excited that kids had access to the ebooks are very popular. And then now that students are back, we have checked out nearly 400 ebooks, and we had one very, very excited student because he could get Diary of a Wimpy Kid immediately.
Nice.
And that made his day. I can understand that, having an 8-year-old at home, that would have loved that. And then something kind of neat that Jill Polglaze, our media specialist, did this year is she's created a landing page for elementary, middle school, or high school teachers to access. And students can access it too, but it's really to show like what does your library offer you. So kind of re-promoting what your school library does, and then there's also a section in it specific to what the public library does and what can FPL do for you. So that's kind of an exciting new thing, and she has it right in her like name and return thing on emails, so people have access to it, and I've seen it going around the schools too, like outside the library, she's made sure to have her name placard with whoever is running that library and then having that access, so we'll see what that does for us.
So do all the teachers in the Franklin Public School System have access to the library even if they live outside Milwaukee County?
They can get a teacher card.
Okay, because there are some really great the databases that they can and the films and stuff on those Canopy and
That's one
Hoopla
thing- that's
are
one
really
thing,
you can find some really great stuff on those. You know,
That's one thing Laura Gravender talked
it's gonna
about
good. Okay,
last year was getting a teacher card, and we had
Super.
teachers come in and get teacher cards
Good.
as a result of that.
nice, great,
And she's coming back to work with us again this year,
Yeah.
actually, we
Yeah.
talked to her at the Volition breakfast
Yeah.
last week, so we're excited about that.
nice. Well, good. Thank you. Have a good year.
I know Sarah, the children's librarian here, said she had a really great meeting with her.
With Jill.
Yeah, the one that works at the.
Yeah, Jill,
Alexa,
she's
yeah.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a very good working relationship.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, my report, I did attend the Common Council meeting where the budget was presented. They continue to remind us that the landfill siting fees will not last forever. So that $20,000 we're getting each year, someone did ask point blank, like how many years are we thinking? And it could be like 5 to 10 more years. Am I remembering that pretty? Yeah.
That's
So just something to tuck in the back of our minds. I will attend with Carrie that October 2nd budget meeting, finance committee meeting. It's not a budget meeting, it's a finance committee meeting.
Right, and if anything changes on that, I will contact you because I have scheduled from the city calendar that we have a committee of the whole.
Oh,
That
on October
evening.
2nd, but yes, the finance committee meeting is at 4.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
I just hadn't looked at the time
Now,
of it.
last year, something interesting did happen. They had found out within the day of the meeting that they didn't have a quorum or there was something
Yeah.
and they did cancel something at the last minute. So
Right,
we
I
did
was on
find out
finance
about
last
that, you know. So anyways, and there was no personnel committee meeting this month. Even though we hoped to have it, so.
Did you get my response? Because I just, as a side note,
I think I'm not gonna use
there's
Doodle.
something in that survey. Because
I'm not using Doodle.
I completed it too, and
You and
it's
Doris
Jane.
didn't, but Doris told me she did, and then she did it a second time, and neither time did I
I
get
did
them.
it at the grocery store because I remembered it. I
That's
did
it.
it every
It's the
year.
grocery
I had a
store.
very specific memory of it. I'm like, how can these dates not work?
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a side.
That's
but
okay.
Don't use that tool anymore because apparently
I'm not.
there's something.
I'm
that's
like,
not
how
working.
dare I use a free Doodle?
I know, right?
Free
Okay.
online
Not
resource.
work. Yeah. Okay.
We'll move on to Jennifer's report of the the director.
Okay. You see, we have a lot of August work anniversaries, by the way.
Yeah.
I guess August is a big month for hiring. I met with Shrikar on Friday because I just wanted to get, as it's getting closer to his project, I just wanted to see it, because he was here, he did his presentation, I never really got a chance to look at it. So they actually brought in the Home Depot flyer that showed the actual things that they're putting
Gotcha.
around.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna look very nice. They're gonna
Good.
do, like he showed, kind of like, almost like a keyhole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
so there'll be a little path.
Yeah.
So they're putting that down. But it was really nice. He and his mom came in and
Nice.
showed me. It made me feel good. You know,
Right,
like,
that
okay, I
it's
know what's
progressing
going
and
on.
it's- yeah,
His
good.
mom was concerned because, as you know, it's a circle and those pavers are, and she's like, there's going to be gaps. And I'm like, well, I've seen them when they're done, and there are little gaps. And I said, you could fill it in with sand, you could fill it in with some crushed granite.
Right.
You know, there are ways. I said, but it may not even be that noticeable.
Right.
So that was her worry, was I was might not look, but I think it'll be good. I talked with the cleaning company, but I'm gonna actually sit down and meet with them because I'm not happy. I don't know if if we're being too picky.
That credenza's still dusty.
I know. Yeah. I don't know if we're being too picky, but there's like a spot in the
They're called
entryway between the glass where there's been flies and bugs dead. in the
Contract lady, I'm
corner.
surprised that you haven't brought up, well, don't we have it like, this is what you're gonna do? Like
I'm
exactly
pretty sure
what
it
they're
says
expected to
you're going
clean?
to clean. I mean, dusting, as Alex pointed out, is in the name of their
Yeah, wow.
services.
No,
So-
that dust is left free to roam.
Oh. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks for clarification, Terry.
Wow. Why didn't I think of that first? That's pretty good.
I feel so stupid the way I was interpreting it.
Making a list
Yeah.
of all these
QR, et
things.
cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera.
You know what I mean? Start compiling a list. I mean, I don't know if I need to date it. Maybe
We
it might
do-
not hurt to say, or the week of, and then write down. You know, like the week of this week, for example, the credential wasn't dusted, or
Right.
there were dead flies in the entryway for several days, or to just start to kind of document a little bit.
And document
And
what
that's
you're
what we're-
seeing with the
yeah.
employees. 'cause
And I
there's some
think-
other-
Yeah, I think too, there are many nights where we've only had one cleaner for 2 hours instead of 2 cleaners for 2 hours.
No.
So we're getting half of the,
Do you
Right.
got the husband and wife team?
no, they're over at City Hall.
Right, they're just at City
We
Hall.
want the husband and wife to.
No, they're ours.
Maybe we just need to poach them and
Yeah.
say screw the company.
That
Right.
probably more people come into the
Yes.
library than City Hall on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Many more
Oh, yeah.
skin cells floating around this place.
Although people usually come into the library.
Well, when the
a little
City
more
Hall
calm,
starts
more
doing
relaxed,
programming, then maybe.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
true.
so. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, cleaning is really
Many
important,
people go
especially when we
through
get to the
City Hall
winter
every day.
months and there's germs
Oh.
everywhere and we have the little kids here.
Well, and all the stuff
Well,
you
I-
track in from
I
outside,
just-
leaves and
Yeah.
salt and
So
all
Maureen
that
is
stuff.
kind of my bathroom monitor. And she's like, they're not getting clean like they used to.
I'll be honest, after Lioness meeting recently too, I was surprised at the bathrooms.
See, yeah, so it's not just, I feel like we're not being too picky.
I noticed a
feel
change
like-
from in the
Okay.
past.
So we've gotten feedback from the community.
Yeah, I
From
don't
the
feel
elder
like
of the
it's,
district, yes.
No.
I don't feel like it's been as
So-
clean either.
So I feel like this is cause
Patrons
for
are
a
complaining
sit-down meeting
about our
in
bathrooms.
person. I can't address it over the phone accurately. So anyway, that's
Good.
that's
Okay.
gonna happen.
Well, I think when that happens, like the line thing, take photos. I mean, just take photos to show them. So when they say, no, it didn't happen, we'd be like, here it
We'll
is.
put him on Facebook, like,
Joe, we don't keep
I could help it, sorry. I'm not on the community page, they banned me from that, so.
I think they had me right.
Oh, they did, yeah, a few months ago, even though I used to run it.
All right.
That page is
Another day, another
So
story.
And that meeting is, you'll have a report
I'll have
on
a report.
an update next
Yes,
month. Great.
Yeah, I want to, you know, it
Yes,
was pointed
result.
out to me that I need to give them a chance to remedy it.
Yes.
right, but
So
that was
I'll
a
give them
month
chance
ago,
to
right?
remedy it.
Well, she,
Or no?
No,
more than
last
kid-
week.
No, yeah,
No, it was. Remember when
no, because it never happened.
was our personnel committee the first time you had mentioned it, and then we were like, oh, but there's 2 people here.
I mean, I never talked.
she never
Oh,
talked
you
to
just
the company.
talked to them. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you provide the company with a list? Do you think that would be appropriate or no, of the things that you've noticed that, to give, for them to work on?
Yeah.
Too?
That's
Yeah,
what she's
that's
going
And
to
you
need.
have done that before?
No,
No.
that's why I need to do that.
I mean, it's
and give them a
unfortunate.
chance to.
Yeah.
And some
Take
things
it
are so
to-
obvious, it's
You,
unfortunate.
you can have a
to do that,
binder where
but-
people are gonna write things down and they can come in and just check that binder to see things that are.
Oh, that's a good idea. A
Yeah.
staff would have time.
Yeah, so I will,
Yeah.
I'll mention that,
Well,
yeah.
they may have a solution, like a different team of people to be here.
So the
Like the
parking
husband
lot,
and
as you, I'm sure you saw when you came in, the parking lot's done.
But I can't come in the driveway.
And when is
That
that
should be,
gonna
yeah, that should
done?
be done soon.
What's
I shouldn't have been joking with Sarah that it'll still not be done by the time she gets back from vacation.
What's
No, I
going
think
on
it's
with the entrance though? It's all the concrete is all jacked up now. It's all
From
messed
which way?
up.
This way?
No, like the main entrance, the
Oh.
plaza in front of the entrance. It's all, it's like messy.
It is
It's
messy.
like
I just need to have,
stained and
I think
goofed
I need
up
to have
and-
it,
Power
Pressure
wash.
It
I
doesn't.
think I have to power wash
Are you
it.
sure? It looks a little
Dry dust
more.
Well, there's a few things I need to,
Oh,
I'm
that's
gonna have DPW come over. I need DPW to come over because I was unhappy with the concrete company because they ripped up my grasses and they didn't even save them.
Oh.
I could have kept those grasses are hardy. Those grasses
Oh
are
yeah,
hardy.
they would have come back.
I would have been able to, and they would have been the same size.
Right.
Now I'm gonna have to get
Yeah.
baby grasses that are.
So that's not cheap either.
So anyway, I'm gonna
Okay.
talk with DPW about what we could do out
And
front.
maybe, I know it's dark out, but, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
you could show.
There's
us
also, I was told by Bob Tesh, so this wasn't from Tyler, but I was told that that part out front is not ADA, that they may have to come, the concrete company may have to come back and either grind it down or take it out and replace it.
I'm worried that like you're gonna just fall off the other side now.
Oh no, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, no, this is
So like
the,
the rampart, or you're
when
talking
you-
about when you walk straight in?
when you walk straight in.
Okay.
So that area, it's too
Sloped.
too slow. So they're gonna have to grind it for more gradual,
Okay.
or they're gonna have to dig it up and replace it, which would be the third time.
Oh my goodness.
Third time.
I saw an elderly woman trying to walk up that slope tonight, and she looked like she was having a little bit of difficulty.
Which slope was it?
It was the one on the
Coming up against the building?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe
Are they
just her,
inclined,
but-
Are they different? This is the final.
Yeah, is the
Yeah, but it's
incline the
lower.
correct, correct grade
Steels?
for
Is that the one you're talking
I-
about though?
no.
Oh, she, it could have just been that she had more difficulty, but it
She
looked
may
like
have just had more
she
difficulty.
was walking a little slow and trying to be careful.
Because engineering came over and double checked all of
And
the
this was
work.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the parking lot looks beautiful, but
Yeah.
the entrance to the library now looks, it's messy.
I know. Maureen mentioned that too, so we're gonna talk to DPW about power
Okay.
washing. And we'll just see if power washing will do it.
Yeah, and if not, call them and tell them to fix it,
Yeah.
because
So,
they paid a lot of money,
Mhm.
or the city paid.
the city did.
All right.
Security project, okay, they started doing the wiring in the library today. So I asked the guy the two employees who were pulling the wires through, how long are you gonna be here? Because I'm curious that way. And he's like, oh, we hope to be done with this part by Thursday. And then the camera installers will actually come in to install the cameras.
Okay.
He didn't know if that would be this week, but Jim said they got done at City Hall, super.
So once the wiring
In 1.5
is in.
weeks, they got
Okay.
done at City Hall.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So
Right.
by this,
Well,
by the meeting next month, it might be all done.
Okay.
That just changed us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't think the police station went that long.
Yeah, I mean, how long have we been waiting for that to be done? It's like, it's been a long project.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions?
A lot of work and details. It should have been done
Super.
years ago.
Okay.
And then they,
It's a whole other
at a
story.
glance, I'm blaming the parking lot on our circulation because it just was down a little
Was
bit
down,
over
sure.
last year. But
Well, and
our
kids are
gate
back in
count-
school and there may be, you
Our
know.
gate count was only down like 70,
Okay.
so it
Yeah.
wasn't that much.
Yeah.
But
I,
but other than that, a lot of our numbers were very good.
Good.
yeah, the programs have still been really full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, programming is definitely
Nice.
very nice. Yeah.
All right,
That's it.
Annie, do you have a foundation report for us?
Oh, I do. So we
Excellent.
had a meeting.
Yeah.
Last week when I noticed dusty credenza. And the literary luncheon is October 10th.
Yeah.
Any update on ticket sales?
I haven't looked today,
Okay.
but we did sell a couple more VIP tickets,
Okay.
Hmm.
which is $100. I mean, there's been a lot of interest,
Mm-hmm.
so hopefully
But it-
people are just waiting until the last minute to buy their
Right.
tickets.
Yeah, hopefully we're getting our numbers up a little bit.
Yeah.
But the costs are covered, so everything is kind of gravy after that.
How many attended last year?
45.
43, and we wanted to sell 50 tickets this year.
And how many, the last time you looked, were you
Like
at?
20.
Okay.
So we have a ways to go.
Yeah, and it's a couple weeks away, so
Yep.
spread the word.
Yeah.
We got the foundation funded up to $5,000 for programming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just there to push the
Right?
She does.
through.
Nice.
And other than that,
Did you guys talk about Venmo? Getting a Venmo?
no, we didn't.
We have PayPal,
We have, yeah.
so we use PayPal for our fundraisers.
But like when we're at the milkman game, can they scan a QR code and donate on PayPal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should.
And then we've got the cookie sale is going to be December 7th?
9th, I think.
Ninth.
Are you doing
Whatever
the same
the-
day as the Santa thing?
No, because
No.
the Santa, okay.
Is
So
that
the
Brittany's
Santa thing is
program?
gonna be this Saturday after Thanksgiving
Uh-huh.
with the whole city.
I think that's a better idea, because it didn't get a little crowded last year with everybody being there at one time for everything. Maybe I'm misremembering.
It was so.
2 years ago it was
Was
crazy.
it 2 years
Yeah,
ago?
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
2 years ago was crazy. Last year was not.
Okay.
But
No, because everything was
so we're not
weird.
really.
It was in the middle of the afternoon. It was super cold.
The
parade.
library's providing the space for the sit with
Okay.
Santa. That fortunately
But it's
they
gonna
found
be
a
a week
Santa
before we do the cookie walk.
2 weeks before.
2 weeks before. Okay.
Because they didn't want to do it. First of all, nobody wants to be here the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Nobody's
and
gonna make
second of all,
cookies that
nobody's going to be
early.
making cookies the
Right.
Saturday after Thanksgiving
Right.
to be able to.
Yeah.
So they decide to do it at the same time the kids is doing their big
Yes.
kids program because we'll get a lot of
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
That's
So
perfect.
that's when we're going to do it.
That's perfect.
The 9th is a Saturday.
And we're also changing the way we do the coffee sales. Before we did, people would order, and then we would place our order with Stone Creek
Right,
and then go pick it up and then distribute it. This year, we're actually going to take a
Gonna do a
lead.
consignment?
We're going to
or-
just buy the coffee. We're going to analyze our coffee
Yeah.
sales over the last few years and just buy
But I-
bags of coffee to sell at.
Well, and I think if
events.
people can just, if they know they can just buy it and get it, the sales might be higher.
Right. So we're just trying that this year. There's
Okay.
a little risk involved, but
Are you going to sell it with the cookies?
yes.
Okay.
So we're hoping that, okay, maybe we'll sell a little bit more and it'll be a little easier than the way we were
Yeah,
doing it
yeah.
before.
That
Wait,
seemed
what
like
date
a lot
did
of
you
work.
say that was?
The
The
9th.
second
Okay, did put it
Saturday,
on.
the second Saturday in December. I think
Okay.
that's the 9th.
Yep.
It is the 9th.
Yep.
And the calendar raffle.
Good.
Yes,
Okay.
we're doing the calendar raffle and we hope to have that ready to go at trunk or treat.
Nice. Good.
By the way, it's just Ben Franklin.
Just Ben Franklin
I
doing the
think
trunk
so.
or treat that
at
night.
the same night. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we've had
kinda
good
weird.
registration.
We've had so many people go. And also, ours is longer. Theirs is shorter. So the kids will just go there to over here.
And we're also gonna have a most awesome one. Although I hope we don't. They're stealing some of our trunks, aren't they?
Oh, maybe.
That would be the only problem.
That would be
But
the only problem. Yeah,
so
that's
far,
okay.
our trunk sign up has been pretty
Good.
strong. The health department's doing that because
Yeah.
I was tired of doing it after many years of doing it. And now they're learning the joys of being the people who have to sign up the trunks.
Good. All righty. Anything else, Annie?
Maybe we should have Andy do that, be in charge.
Yeah, really.
He seems to like that
I know.
sign up stuff,
I
right?
know.
I don't think so.
Okay. All righty. Moving along to the Colland report.
Was in Bayfield at the Bayfield,
Who did you go?
the Bayfield Carnegie Library. And I think I've been in maybe those Carnegie buildings before, but it's been refurbished and so forth. I think it was right after the turn of the 19th to 20th century. So it was an interesting building. They've got it in very good shape. And our meeting was a little cramped, even without, with the distance keeping some people away. Done in a lower level conference room and so forth. So we were pretty much elbow to elbow there, but it worked out fine. The item of probably of most interest, and maybe touch on something we've heard about already. This was National Library National Public Library Trends in Intellectual Freedom. What that got into was where people have some issue with something that's in the library, materials in the library is the main example. And so there'll be things about, well, I don't want my child to be looking at such and such, that kind of thing. And then there's the things, well, that the library associations and so forth say, well, you know, there's not, it's not practical to really segregate things all out like that, and so forth. And so then things get to where people say, well, then, you know, we'll run people for office, or try to get them on the library board who see things this way. And it's, you know, it's that's part of public opinion. That may not be the public's opinion that you like, but that comes along.
Sure.
And so that's it's, well, how should you deal with these issues, and so forth. And so it was interesting to hear that. And what people can say is that, well, you know, we can't make these distinctions, and then they'll say, well, then don't carry any of that material. And if people want to look at it, they can go buy it at a store or something. So you get into those kinds of issues, expanding boards to get more people on and so forth to change the balance, and so on and so forth. And it varies a lot from state to state.
Sure.
There'll be states that are, the legislature will be making some type of, or will be, you know, making some pronouncement on this or that, and then another state will have just the opposite position on these library issues. So it was interesting. It doesn't get, if you're not it's so local, even though it's nationwide, but it's very local, so you don't necessarily hear about what's going on in libraries in Wyoming or Illinois, something like that. So that's, but that's something to watch out for, and maybe even do a preparation for, and I think we've had other types of issues like that. It's like, well, you don't want to be caught. So it's the thing of to sort of have your little response on what we do already and why it's proper, and we appreciate your concerns. So, you know, that's not it. It's just that other people, other parents, other 16-year-olds have different views, and so, you know, we can't have just a single policy. And in general, our policy is to have everything open for people who might be of interest to it.
I showed you that article, right, in Illinois? There was an uproar about the librarian, so the mayor wiped out the whole board, put in his people, they fired the librarian. It was like,
It's gotten really nasty in some states.
yeah, like, it was scary. It was scary.
Huh.
Yeah, it's,
And it was about curriculum, like about circulation, like what the books that they were
Yeah.
allowing.
I guess I'll generalize, and it reflects our current political climate generally, and I don't know that there actually ever was a good old days for that matter, but we've got a different, not perfect situation now than some of the previous not perfect situations that we've dealt with. So that's, you know, I guess that's just the way it is. Let's see, there was some talk in this that we would have part of this meeting over on Madeline Island, because there's actually a very nice and fairly large building for their library there. It's kind of I'm not that much on architecture, but kind of maybe a Northeast Coast look to it, this big white frame house. And these, and so, but that wasn't practical. You know, the time that we would be on the ground in Bayfield, and then taking the ferry back and forth to La Point over on Madeline Island and so forth, that didn't work out. But that's what the thing where we drove up, and I got mileage, but I couldn't take any lodging because I didn't want to. If you take the state rate, you have to take the state motel. So so it's like, well, I'll have my mileage to go somewhere towards this rental on the island.
It was worth it.
Yeah, it was a nice trip, so things are things were wrapping up on Madeline Island for
Yeah.
the season.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, there I'm thinking, well, I've been at the library on Washington Island. How many island libraries do we have here in Wisconsin?
Wow.
And
It's probably the only two.
yeah, it could be. There's one more thing in my notes here. Points there. Oh, Dr. Darrell Williams is one of the people in the top staff people in the Department of Public Instruction, and he came up there, and he's been traveling around the state quite a lot, and this was part of it. And the reason that he does is that he's from Milwaukee originally, and that's where his professional work was done until he got this appointment. And so he was there, and let other people more or less cover the stuff, but he made those points about he appreciated the work of groups like Coland, or for that matter, groups like this, that people do so much volunteer type work for their libraries. And so it was a pretty good meeting, even with the problem with you have so many people doing it remotely. Somehow that technology is not advancing as fast as some other things because it has its difficulties. Upstairs there is a painting of Mr. Carnegie, or maybe correct as a Carnegie, but also there was a story behind this that somebody has this picture, did this painting of. Was that Paul Newman or somebody? Anyway, that's some long story about how this other painting that got put next to Mr. Carnegie's got to the library.
Paul Newman and Mr. Carnegie?
Yeah, it's just sitting there now. I couldn't even have the celebrity wrong, but it was just this thing of, how'd that get there? And it was, it was sort of interesting. And it's like one of these oddball, it's not an odd town like some California coast thing, but it's a little different situation there being on a place like Bayfield, let alone a place like Madeline Island. So
Interesting.
but that was that. There was nothing beyond this stuff about these controversies that come up, and it was more or less the routine business of the council.
Good.
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for the.
Nothing about dusting problems or anything.
Okay. All right.
Did you say library trends and intellectual freedom? What was the?
All right. They'll get the wording. The personnel committee, without a doodle poll, will plan a meeting.
Before you, do not leave the building.
Right. And then our next meeting is October 23rd. Any conflicts that are anticipated? Annie won't be here? Okay. Anybody else know ahead of time? All righty.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
Annie and Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody oppose or abstain? Motion carries.
What time is it?
6 o'clock. Oh, 7:38.
38.